Okay, so in this policy, we look at the append effect, right? So, and what we are doing in this one is we are looking at the IP rules for Cosmos DB, and first we check whether the IP rules are actually enabled or not, and if they are, there should be this particular IP address. I mean, this is the random one I have picked up. You can choose anything. This is only for demonstration. So what we are doing is we are checking if the IP rules are enabled, and if they are, there should be a rule to allow access from this particular IP address, right? 40.40.40.40. Okay. So now since this is a uh, append effect, this does not impact the existing resources, right? So if we have any existing Cosmos DB instance running without this particular IP rule, that is that will only be raised as a non-compliant, but we cannot remediate that resource. But for this will take an effect for all the incoming new create or update requests. So it will update the request themselves in flight. And this is the reason you don't see any role definition assigned to this one. Okay, so this is an important difference between modify and append. While modify needs a role definition to be assigned, since it needs to update the existing resources, append there is no need of role definitions with the append. So what we are doing here is first there are two conditions here. So the first condition, we see if the IP rules are at least enabled, and if they are enabled, we loop through each rule, right? So here we are using this IP rule star. So it will loop through each of the IP rule for all the Cosmos DB accounts and check if the IP address or range has a value equal to this 40.40.40. Now, as soon as it finds it, there will be at least one entry. So this is equals 1. So, and if this condition is satisfied, then we are okay. And if it is not, then we need to append it with the same rule, right? IP rule, and we are going to append IP address or range of 40.40.40.40, right? So this rule will get appended to the request. So now let's go ahead and create a Cosmos DB. Now, since the policy will not take any effect on the existing resource, it will though highlight it as a non-compliant. So if I go to the policy, and you will see it will say that there is one resource which is not compliant, right? So this is a firewall rule on Cosmos DB, and it will say one is a non-compliant, but we can't remediate it using this policy. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and create a new Cosmos DB account. All right, so these are the only fields we need to enter to create a Cosmos DB account. So we'll go ahead and, but I'll just show you the networking, right? So we are saying all networks, right? So there is no IP rule which we have defined. I'll just go ahead and create it. So it's success, and so now the account, Cosmos DB account is deployed. We can go ahead and check the network rule on that one. Right, so we look for the firewall and the virtual networks, and you see that it has changed from all networks to the selected network, right? Even though we had selected all networks, and you see this rule defined in this one, this IP address which was defined in our policy, right? So this is how this append policy can impact your create and update requests.